And so the fight began. They stabbed him in his arm, they stabbed him in his leg 3 or 4 times, and they stabbed him in his heart. He'd been stabbed 8 times. I went home that night, started crying, like I think it just all got too much. And I can remember the uncle's voice in my head saying,
just turn to Allah, and anything Allah wants to do, He can do.
I just literally spoke to Allah, and I didn't know who Allah was, but I can remember just saying, you know, Allah, take the pain away. Something just changed that day, and I can remember completely stopping crying. I felt like Allah was saying to me, like, don't worry, I'm here.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Aisha Mercedes. As towards eternity, we are very happy to have you with us. I want to start with, who is Aisha Mercedes? Can you tell us briefly about your life?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallah khairan for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I was born and raised in London, and at the age of 12, I moved over to Essex. I am mixed race. I'm half Jamaican and half English. So my mum's family were kind of Catholic, but there was no religion practiced at all in my household. I would have had the belief system of God, but no specific religion. However, when I got to a certain point, I would have identified as a Christian, but I believed that I was an atheist. So I accepted Islam 13 years ago, and since then I've been involved in community work, volunteering, television presenting, and podcasting.
How was your life in regards to faith? Can you tell us about your religious background?
So I was aware of religion, but it wasn't practiced in my direct household. So my dad had no religious tendencies whatsoever, but with my mum's mum, she had like statues of Mary in the household, and sometimes she would use like religious terms, like mention like Mary or Jesus. I would actually consider myself to have been an atheist. You know, as I said, I would turn to God in times of desperation. So although I didn't really have a connection with God, I didn't really believe in God, I think a lot of us turn to God when we're in a really difficult time. Like, God, if you're listening, please, you know, help me out of this situation. So that was my kind of relationship with God. But other than that, there was no connection.
So what didn't make sense to you in Christianity?
There was questions that I didn't know the answer to. And I really struggled with the concept of Jesus being the Son of God. If God's sort of all-powerful and almighty, why does the concept of why does Jesus need to die for our sins? Why do we need to pray to Jesus? That concept to me was bizarre. I couldn't understand it. So I can remember asking questions, and I can remember being kind of shut down and kind of told that I shouldn't be asking questions. I didn't so much get angry, but it kind of like, I was dismissed. So interestingly, when I became Muslim and I started to get an understanding of the religion, all of my questions were answered. Allah says in the Quran, kun fayakun, be and it will be. So I understood that to mean that Allah doesn't need any partners. Allah doesn't need a son in order for us to worship him. So coming from, you know, not having my questions answered in the church and really feeling like it didn't make sense to read in the Quran and Allah's words and understanding the truth that Allah does not need any partners and that Allah is one to be worshipped made complete sense to me.
I want to learn how your journey to Islam began. What happened that you started considering Islam?
Some of the things that I went through in my childhood.
You're going to follow God or the church? God says think, wonder, always think and wonder and ask why, ask questions. Church says no, don't ask, just believe it's a mystery.
The first school that I went to in London, I was bullied because I was mixed race. So I kept running away.
That's your first like wonder. Why? Why I can't ask?
Don't tell your dad. And I told my dad.
They don't want you to ask. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to use your mind at all.
Very scary way.
And that's the worst.
Don't tell your dad. And I told my dad.
They don't want you to ask. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to use your mind at all.
Very scary way.
And that's the worst.
Everybody else was white, and that was difficult. I remember actually getting expelled from school in the end because one of my friends, who was supposed to be a close friend of mine, had actually said some racist things towards me, and that was what it was like. That wasn't the first time something like that had happened. I had friends that I would kind of hang around with that then, you know, turned on me and attacked me, and I really felt like it was because I just didn't fit in. I wasn't white, and I was kind of seen as like a target, and I would be made fun of. Even the way I spoke, I'd be made fun of because I had a London accent, and the Essex accent is very different to the London accent, so even that would be picked on. So I always felt very much like I was on the outside looking in. I think I'd pretty much been with the street kids on the streets for from the age of about 15. And that's kind of where I felt I fit in with the street kids. There was lots of other kids that had grown up in broken homes, that had issues. And it did get to a point in my life where I did really want to be white. I think by the time I got to my early 20s, I'd already gone through a lot of feeling quite displaced. I'd already gone through a lot of identity issues. And that's why I felt quite suicidal. It just was a lot to kind of
because you don't feel like what your purpose is,
and I didn't really understand
you feel like you don't belong, you
those
feel
elements
like
of myself at that time.
Life doesn't make sense.
So what did you do to get over these difficulties? And how did Islam get into the picture?
Like,
just carried on. I kind of got over that phase of my life, so I was kind of semi-involved in the rap music scene, believe it or not. A few rappers that I know that actually started telling me about Islam. The rap scene in the UK, a lot of them are Muslim. I was actually planning on doing a verse on a rap tune with this rap group, and one of them then started telling me about Islam. And the funny thing about it is, he said he'd been talking to me about Islam prior to that, but I don't remember. And it's kind of like makes me think of the verse in the Quran where Allah says He's put a seal on your heart. I couldn't remember or recall anything. But he said, I've been trying to talk to you about Islam. I've been trying to give you dawah and explain Islam to you. And I said, I don't have any recollection. So I remember the day that he spoke to me about Jesus being the Son of God and how that didn't make sense. Allah had already put something in my mind to question Jesus being the Son of God. And when this rapper had then said, that doesn't make sense, and explained about Allah being one, I was like, that really makes sense.
Were there other Muslims around you that told you about Islam as well?
I grew up in a predominantly white area, so I didn't really have any interactions with Muslims apart from a shoe shop that I used to go to. The man in the shop, I call him like an uncle, he was Muslim, but he never indicated that he was Muslim. I just remember being a source of somebody that I could go to talk to about my problems. When the brother told me about Islam and was comparing Christianity, I remember going to the uncle and saying to him, oh my gosh, like, I've heard about Islam. He came back the next time with this old Quran, and he was like, look, just take the Quran, just open it up and ask Allah for guidance, and Allah will be able to give you anything. So basically I took the Quran home and just left it to one side. So then I carried on and I went out and I partied and carried on with my life. And so at this point in time, and just left it to one side. So then I carried on and I went out and I partied and carried on with my life. And so at this point in time, this is true at this point.
What was the turning point for you towards accepting Islam?
I remember getting a phone call one day. Somebody said to me, you know, you need to go down to your dad's flat. So I made my way down to London because I was back in Essex, got outside his flat and I saw there was police tape. I saw there was police tape all the way around. I tried to go in to the flat and they wouldn't let me go in. So I called his phone and someone answered. SubhanAllah. So someone to the flat and they wouldn't let me go in. So I called his phone and someone answered. SubhanAllah. So supposed as someone else to enter into the flat. They pulled out a knife and they said, look, you need to give your money. Now, my dad's schizophrenic, so I was just going to hand over what he had. And so the fight began. They stabbed him in his arm, they stabbed him in his leg 3 or 4 times, and they stabbed him in his heart. So I went to visit my dad in hospital. When it got to 12 o'clock, you know, the doctors changed over, and one of the doctors said, he's been stabbed in the heart. Have you not checked his heart? And they said, well, it's 12 o'clock. You know, the doctors changed over. And one of the doctors said, he's been stabbed in the heart. Have you not checked his heart? And they said, well, he seems okay. So they said, no, we need to check his heart. When they checked his heart was punctured. If they didn't find that, he would have internally bled to death. I went home that night, started crying, like I think it just all got too much. My dad had nearly died and, you know, I've got the Quran open. And I can remember the uncle's voice in my head saying, you know, just turn to Allah and anything Allah wants to do, He can do. I just literally saying, you know, just turn to Allah and anything Allah wants to do, He can do. I just literally spoke to Allah and I didn't know who I was, saying, you know, just turn to Allah and anything Allah wants to do, He can do. I just literally spoke to Allah and I didn't know who Allah was, but I can remember just saying, you know, Allah, take the pain away. and I can remember feeling this physical warmth enter into my feet, up into my legs, all the way up to my body. I physically felt my heart lift. Something just changed that day, and I can remember completely stopping crying. I felt like Allah was saying to me, like, don't worry, I'm here. That was the first time that I prayed to Allah, and He answered immediately.
Then what happened that you finally decided to become Muslim and take your Shahada? Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We realize that 80% of our audience, including this video, are not subscribed to our channel. As you know, we are a non-profit organization and advertisements are disabled on our videos. Towards Eternity is not just a YouTube channel, but also a madrasa. Here we try to educate ourselves and the youth Islamically. So the only reason we are asking for this is videos. Towards Eternity is not just a YouTube channel, but also a madrasa. Here we try to educate ourselves and the youth Islamically. So the only reason we are asking for this is
feeling like, almost like I had become a Muslim in that point in time. I was convinced that, you know, Allah was real, and this was the first time that I'd really truly believed in God. So these, I contacted another one of my rapper friends. They were part of the same rap group, and it was really odd because we used to meet up in random places in the car, and he used to just tell me about Islam, and then I'd leave. That was literally the relationship we had. So I remember contacting my friend, and he started to talk to me about the tortures of the grave. I was completely terrified, but I was terrified in a way that I did not want to die a non-Muslim, because my fear was not even of Jahannam, not even of hell at that point. My fear was the torture of the grave, because this was something extremely new and extremely scary to me. So I then started to become very emotional for the next 3 or 4 days. I was crying pretty much every day, and I was trying to pray, didn't know how to pray, had no idea how to pray. How I prayed was just talking to God, looking up. I've never been in a mosque. I've never really known any Muslims that are, like, you know, openly practicing. So, you know, there was a lot that I didn't know. I remember meeting my friend. She said, I want to take you to East London to show you something. So we drove from Essex to East London, and we went to Union Street, I believe, where they sell lots of hijab to the buyers. And I remember him buying me the pullover hijab, the one that you just, it's like a sock, but with an open bit. You just put it over. And I went in the shop and I tried it on, pulled it over, and I was like, got in the car, looked in the mirror, and I was like, wow, this is different. This is different. I felt like I wanted to become Muslim. That's how I actually genuinely felt.
Happy New Year, buddy.
So when we drove back down through Ilford,
I don't
back
usually
to
carry
Essex,
change,
and
listen.
the brother went in and said, I need to pray. So he went in to pray, and I made a little prayer outside. I prayed to Allah and said, please allow me to become Muslim. He went into the mosque and he prayed and came back out and sat in the car, and then he said, the Imam's not in there at the moment, but I've given a few people Shahada before. If you wanted to go in and take your Shahada now, it's up to you, or you can wait for another time with the Imam. So you see the wisdom of how he done it. He didn't say, let's stop going to Shahada. He then allowed me to make my own decision. He took me to get hijab, didn't tell me what was happening, allowed me to choose the hijab, allowed me to kind of sit in the car and have a think outside the mosque. And then I was like, yeah, I want to go in and I want to become Muslim. So I walked into the mosque, and the first thing that I thought was, where's the chairs? But as I walked in, they were kind of looking at me, because I still had quite tight clothes on with this sock hijab over. And I wondered why other people followed us. I was a bit like, well, what's going on? Why are they here? No one actually explained that you need witnesses and all of that. So we went and sat on the floor, and again I was thinking, why are we sitting on the floor? And we sat down in a circle, and the brother started to talk to me a little bit about the religion, and asked me, do I believe that, you know, in the Prophet ﷺ, and do I believe in Allah, and do I understand like what I'm saying? Has anyone forced me to be here? And obviously I said I believed, and that like, nobody's forced me to be here.
Make sure that the person is 100%.
I took my Shahada. My friend gave me Shahada. Honestly, I felt like
if they have any questions or doubts,
very much like, I mean,
like we tell them to think and explore and search.
Around you.
Unlike the church tell you, hey, don't think of it, hey, go, you get it, bro. Jesus already died for you, saying, go do whatever you want. Does that make sense to you?
That was more of a relief. This was
simple. How was the reaction of
the people
to your conversion to Islam?
It was very surprising for a lot of people. I was probably the person
that
would be least expected to become Muslim. I'd come from, you know, as I said.
What
What was the thing that made you question your beliefs? How did 9/11 affect your life? How did your family and the people around you react?
How did we get over here? I think we've seen this before. Let's see the song next.
How did you first hear about Islam? What was your last step towards accepting Islam? And how was your family's reaction?
I was in an elevator going, oh God, big Arab man with a gun, bigger Arab man with a gun. Kill the white woman later. And the translation that my mind gave me, we'll kill the white woman later. And I said, no, there's no way I can be Muslim. No way, not me. And I closed the Quran and I thought, oh my God, nice people, crazy book.
She got scared. She never like that's.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lauren. Thank you for accepting our
Like
invitation.
assuming,
We are
don't
very
assume.
happy to have you with us. I want to start with, who is Lauren Booth? Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Lauren Booth. I am a journalist and a writer and an actor. So I was born in 1967 in Hampstead, North London. My mum was a model, my dad was an actor, and I stayed in London until I was 20. I was studying acting. That was my big dream. I wanted to go to Hollywood. So after acting for 7 years, I retrained as a journalist in 1997, and I do a lot of TV as well. So I appeared on Sky News. I was in mainstream journalism. I was working for people like the Daily Mail, Don't Judge Me, Mail on Sunday. I did stuff for the BBC and Channel 5, hosted lots of TV shows, alhamdulillah, radio shows. So in 2010, I accepted Islam, and this was after a series of journeys to Palestine, and meeting the people there, going first as a journalist.
Anybody there, type in the screen, please. Appreciate it.
How did you first hear about Islam? What was your last step towards accepting Islam? And how was your family's reaction? I was in an elevator going, oh God, big Arab man with a gun, bigger Arab man with a gun. Kill the white woman later.
Yeah.
And the translation that my mind gave me, we'll kill the white woman later. And I said, no, there's no way I can be Muslim. No way, not me. And I closed the Quran and I thought, oh my God, nice people, crazy book.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lauren. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We are very happy to have you with us. I want to start with, who is Lauren Booth? Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Lauren Booth. I am a journalist and a writer and an actor. So I was born in 1967 in Hampstead, North London. My mum was a model, my dad was an actor, and I stayed in London until I was 20. I was studying acting. That was my big dream. I wanted to go to Hollywood. So after acting for 7 years, I retrained as a journalist in 1997, and I do a lot of TV as well. So I appeared on Sky News. I was in mainstream journalism. I was working for people like the Daily Mail, Don't Judge Me, Mail on Sunday. I did stuff for the BBC and Channel 5, hosted lots of TV shows, alhamdulillah, radio shows.
Una manito. Somebody's tapping. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Whoever's doing it, that means they're helping.
So in 2010, I accepted Islam, and this was after a series of journeys to Palestine, and meeting the people there, going first as a journalist and then as an activist.
How did you first hear about Islam?
I guess the first time I really took notice of Islam was in 2001 after 9/11. I remember watching the footage seeming to show planes go into the Twin Towers, and I was sitting with a young child thinking, what poor country is going to be made to pay for this? And in my mind, I was a socialist and a leftist, and I understood the West has a war with certain people for power. I'm like, some poor country with nothing to do with this is going to be made to pay in order for America to feel good about itself.
Hold on, guys, I'm going to go somewhere and come back.
If Islam was a threat to the West, it'd been around for 1400 years and billions of people followed it. They could have just taken the West or done awful things. So one act does not mean the whole Muslim world is responsible for one act by a small group of people. What is that? It's a political decision to impact and inflict upon Muslim people. And I didn't get behind that. I couldn't, in my heart, get behind that.
We know that as a journalist, you have been in Palestine many times. Why did you first decide to go there?
I felt a hand, an invisible hand on my back, propelling me towards Palestine. I have no explanation for it. I didn't speak Arabic. I didn't know any Palestinians. But I honestly felt absolutely a hand on my back going, go to Palestine, go to Palestine, go to Palestine. And I found myself in the West Bank on my own with no training.
Can you tell us about your experience in Palestine?
I think it's really important to understand that I went to the Holy Land as a Christian, but I was super excited to walk in the steps of Jesus Christ. That to me, I was like on a pilgrimage. Everywhere like, Jesus might have been here. It was amazing. I never expected to go to Jerusalem where he dragged the cross, and to go to the Holy Sepulchre, and oh my God, Jesus was here. This is amazing. It really happened. But everywhere that I started to go in the Middle East, it was the Muslims who were looking after the Christian sites, and that really confused me. So for example, the place where Jesus, peace be upon him, cured the lepers is a cave in Lebanon, and attached to the cave is a church, and the man who opens it is a Muslim. And I said, okay, why do you have the keys to this? He said, it's been in my family for generations. And I said, can I ask you something? He said, yes. I said, did your family steal them from the Christians? Maybe they killed the Christians to get them. He's like, you really don't know much about this. No, the Christians trust us with these because we care about Jesus too. And I was like, that was the first time I'm like, Jesus is your prophet? Okay. And the Muslims seem to know a lot more about him as well. Muslims seem to know a lot about Jesus. You know, I had an incredible journey for 2 weeks, and I was shocked that this is the world that we live in, that everything I thought I knew about the Middle East was a lie.
Did you have any prejudice against Islam? And if you had any, how did it go away?
When I was going to meet Mahmoud Abbas. So there's me, a journalist who usually writes about parties, going, oh God, big Arab man with a gun, bigger Arab man with a gun. And then I remember that I was in an elevator, and one of the Arab guards went, you know, Ya Hamada, Haddad, Hamada, that's how it entered my ears. And the translation that my mind gave me in big letters was, we'll kill the white woman later.
That's what she's thinking.
And I realized, oh my God, I'm taking it all in. I'm not a fair person to come here. I have absolute prejudice. I'm more afraid of a Palestinian with a gun than an Israeli with a gun. Why is that? I don't know either of them. So I had to kind of acknowledge my own prejudice. But here's the miracle. After 72 hours on my own in the West Bank, I would have died protecting any woman or child, or man for that matter, because of the love that they showed and the kindness and just the whole atmosphere that I came to realize was their religion.
Do you have any memory that you cannot forget?
On the trip in 2005, and I asked the young man who was shopping with me, can you please find me a Quran?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Aki. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm alhamdulillah, Aki. All praise be to Allah, for He sustains us.
Oh, that's Brother Muhammad. Oh, I didn't know that was you. How are you, Brother Abdullah?
I am alhamdulillah, Aki.
I remember you. I remember exactly who you are. How you been? Alhamdulillah, I'm glad you're here.
Well, I'm glad I was able to catch you on the live, Aki. It's been a
Yeah, I
while.
haven't. It's been a long time. I haven't been going live. I've been kind of tied up with a lot of things going on. With the thing in Palestine and all. It's like
That's
it's too sad.
understandable, Lucky.
It's too sad, and how it's just like. But I'm glad TikTok is going on and exposing everything, and people are waking up.
Yes, Alhamdulillah.
It's amazing
Yeah.
how, like, what happened in Ukraine, how the U.S. was standing, and then all of a sudden, like, what happened in Palestine is like a different story. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
But
a double standard. Go ahead, bro.
Africa has already filed against Israel,
Yeah.
and so I can't wait for that to happen. For their crimes against humanity. So since they've filed paperwork, something has to be done now.
Exactly, and it's only gonna take. It's only a matter of time when other countries will join. I'm glad. I mean, if you look at the people, these now they're waking up, especially like in the West. In the beginning, they don't know what's going on. You know how they
Right.
try to make it holy and try to make it, and they don't know the story. They only remember it like after September. What is it, after November? October 7 or whatever. They don't know
Right.
what was it, November 7. So no, I think it was October, right? October, November. No, it was November.
Yeah,
7th.
October 7th.
Oh, October 7th. So yeah. So they don't know what's going on from the beginning. They don't know how these guys are living there. What's their status? What's their situation?
Mm-hmm.
And they come and they just we support Israel. Like, okay, we don't care. Because they've been brainwashed. They've been listening to these media outlets that Zionists control. Zionists control Washington, Hollywood, and the media. Once you get those three, that's it. You're locking their brain in there.
Right. I don't trust any of the government because, a lot of people don't realize is that they're actually living in an apartheid country, a colonistic country.
Exactly.
Living in the U.S., you're underneath a government that's a corporation rather than the actual government that's actually ruling. It's a corporation.
Yes,
and
yes.
and people don't realize that they've been a corporation since I think it's 1923, something like that. That they became.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, brother.
No, it was long before that. It was like when the country first 1293, something like that, where they became the corporation rather than what the country was actually founded upon. And
exactly, that's what I was just going to say.
Then it was still it was still considered apartheid.
Yeah,
a state because of they did the occupation. Like you're seeing the same thing that's taking place against our Palestinian brothers and sisters of this colonial state, and and the atrocities that they're committing against not just our Palestinian brothers and sisters, but as well as other people and other nations that are being oppressed too, as well.
Exactly. Not only that, you undermine what America stand for, what George Washington fought for, and by the way, George Washington fought the occupier British. So it's very un-American to stand with Israel. Actually, to be honest,
it is. It's very un-American, and even in our nation's history, a lot of people don't know this, is that when the U.S. was actually established, when they first started colonizing this land, they did the same atrocities that's going on now.
Exactly, and now we celebrate
back to the indigenous to my indigenous brothers and sisters. That's part of my family too, as well.
Exactly.
And so you're seeing history repeats itself, but the thing here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually, I think it was that he curses Israel.
Yes.
That it will be your downfall and everything. So
I think they've been exposed by the second. The
Hmm.
lies, the story, the fake story, the manipulation, the control, the
Yep.
oppression, everything is popping up like you can't hide the truth anymore. And this is for the social media, and it was like you said, the word of God. But God, there's reason, like God put the reason to make this happen every time. And it's
Yep.
only a matter of time when people, like I know that people in almost in every nation, they're not with
Hmm.
them, except only the people on top, the puppets, especially
It's
the
only the
Arabic
people.
people.
It's only the people that is with them is only the people that is part of that corporation. That's who's
Exactly,
with them. It's part
exactly.
of that corporation and part of that wicked government that they're trying to influence.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
trying to
Only
fulfill, and they're trying to self-fulfill prophecy, which they cannot do because it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's going to allow that.
exactly. You're trying to go against God, and to them, what
Exactly.
their God is the greed and the money. They're doing this for
It
only
is.
for greed and for money, for oil, and people are fed of it. Even if you look like you said, you were mentioning Africa earlier. We know the African nation has woke up and they start. But first of all, they kick the French out of it. They're like, we're done. We're tired of this. We're tired of you coming here and taking our resources and leave us with nothing. Like you treated us like
Mhm.
it's the same thing, man. It's brother. It's like the conquer, scare, fear, conquer, and control, and you do this through a lot of tactics. Division, like you see now, like starting wars in all the nations. Look, just count how many wars. Like there's a war in Yemen, Libya, Syria, Iraq. I mean, we know Palestine now. I mean, it's been all the time on. It's just like now it's in the media. They don't know, like here in the West, that Israel goes to West Bank almost in daily basis and take people and lock them up for no reason whatsoever.
Mhm.
I mean, this is just so sad. That's why, to be honest with you, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to live in America anymore. If America is not what it is, I don't want to be here, to be
I
honest with you.
don't. I don't want to even be a part of the U.S. I don't even want to be a part of what it's representing. I don't even want my tax dollars going to fund something that I have no control of.
Exactly. And you know what is the sad part about it, brother? It's like, okay, like we give them $5 to $10 billion a year just for them to turn around and manipulate our elections and who goes to Congress and White House. It's like, what the heck? We're screwing ourselves double. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
It
We
is.
need to
It's
wake up. We need
absolutely
to free
crazy.
America from the Zionists. This is the first goal.
Yep.
But once they mix up with that church stuff and the Bible and all that, they think they're on the right side, and that's the biggest problem.
And they're not on the right side.
Yeah,
And the thing is that the best way to defeat a corporation is quit funding the corporation.
exactly. But the thing is it's like there is about not maybe 10 companies that actually run the whole U.S. and what it do and who goes to Congress, and most of them are Zionists because
Yep.
the banks owned by the Zionists too. It's like
Yep.
they are the money making machine. And now they got these private companies that you could hire. I don't know. I'm sure you remember what Blackwater did in Iraq and Syria and all that. It was an American private company that worked for the military. Are you familiar with that? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
what
familiar
they
with it a
did.
little bit.
So now everybody's copying that. Even some of the Arabic countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they were doing this thing in Yemen. They were hiring actually some Yemeni people. They hire your own people under a security company, whatever they call it, and they pay them top dollars so they could fulfill their agenda and whatever they do, like even assassinations, a lot of crazy stuff. I'm telling you, like they like a lot of people. They were putting people in jail for no reason. It's just because he's from this group or from they don't like and it's all those guys are all with the Zionists with this like the Prince of UAE and Saudi Arabia and all that. They're all puppets and they're all You know, that's why when this MB, Muhammad, what's his name? Muhammad. His name is Muhammad bin Salman. They call him MBS. When they were talking about everybody was praising him, he wasn't even a king yet or a leader. So they put these people there in order to be actually, even the army is going against the people. Like I
Yes.
remember in Jordan, they try to open the borders and go. Guess what? The Jordanian army was shooting the people, the public, the citizen of Jordan. I mean, imagine,
Which is
like,
also against international law.
yes,
Everything that they're doing is against the international law. And, and I believe that everyone that is a part of this and not doing anything about it, I believe they ought to be brought up on charges too for allowing these atrocities to take place, for
yeah,
allowing it to happen, knowing it.
but brother Muhammad
I think every one of them ought to be brought to trial.
but brother Muhammad, there's no tools to implement anything. Even if this goes to what is that, the national, what do you call the world court, whatever that is, that they have no capabilities to fulfill the judgment. They're
Yeah.
just like they're just like the United Nations and what's the other one? All this stuff, man. The Security Council and all that. This is just like, it's almost like what do you call this? Like, just to get around it and to make it like sound like it's legal. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I don't know what a camouflage or something. A loophole.
Yeah, when
And
it's
it's
actually not.
manipulated. Like, just think about it. You got 5 countries. If one, like, okay, let's say you got the whole world. Let's just say about the 5 countries that had the veto right. Why is only 5 countries? Is it about power or what is this? It doesn't make
That's
sense
that
the way.
corporation.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense the way it is, uh, set up. Because you can tell right away it's only those 5 people that have control. And even if the whole world agree in one thing and then one country veto, like the US been vetoing to stop war and criticize Israel and all that, does that make sense to you? Logic, it doesn't make sense to anybody. Why keep going? They're obsolete. We shouldn't, they've been done for a long, long time. They're not fulfilling their jobs or their purpose. So it's just another lie, to be honest with
Yes, it is. It's just another lie, just another form of deception.
you. Exactly.
I just see the end time. Some of the things that some of the signs of the end times, and
Yes,
the hours. The
it is.
hour. I don't know the hour, nor does anyone else. But it's only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala who knows that hour. But we're getting close to that hour.
Yeah, God give us signs, and this is one of the signs. He said it's gonna be. Even there's a hadith about the Prophet. I don't remember it exactly, but it mentioned that in the end of time, there's gonna be a lot of unaliving. It's gonna be somebody's gonna do it, and he don't know why he did it. Not only that, he will go brag about it, and that's one of them. Another one is talking about like tall buildings. I'm sure you're familiar with all that. I don't know what's going on. The cop is spinning around here. Let me show you. Where is the cop? He's been going around the area for some reason. So maybe something going on. I seen it like 3rd time already.
Maybe just patrolling the neighborhood.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of 2023. They said it was one of the worst year as historian or history have noticed so far. As far as
Yes.
natural disasters, wars, everything like hunger. It's like amazing how the middle class has dissolved in like the whole world. There's no, unless you maybe I don't know, socials whatever, but still the middle class is gone. Only the rich are getting rich and the poor is getting poor, and the prices are going up. And guess what? What's gonna
Yes.
happen? How America's gonna go down. To be honest with you, is gonna go economically first. If China and them they start using only that currency, we're done. Not
Yeah.
only that,
Then
we owe them so much money. You know, a lot of people do think we're rich and the U.S. is rich. They don't know we owe trillions of dollars to China and Kuwait and some of them.
we don't owe. Actually, in all actuality, we don't owe them nothing. Period.
No,
Because
China.
we don't.
If you look,
We don't owe them.
China,
We don't owe them. We
no,
don't
if you
actually
look,
owe them anything. Because
it's
I'll tell you why.
companies.
Because
They come as companies. No, after that, I don't know if you remember 2008 when the market collapsed, when the government was trying to
Yeah.
push back the banks. That's when China got in. China owns a lot of big buildings in New York right now. A lot of them. And look,
Yeah.
if we stop, like, let's say we don't want to deal with China, a lot of these companies, they're not gonna like that. We're in China because of the companies, not because the American people want to go there. Because they want cheaper labor, and then they want more profit, and then they want a lot of, we screw in the middle. They don't care. To them, we're just a number. That's why, you got the social security number and all that. That's what you are to them. And how much money
But
you gonna make them?
the United
They use
States,
you,
they
they
sell
abuse you.
property.
Yeah, they take your tax. Like, for
Yeah.
example, you're talking about properties. If you don't pay taxes in your properties, it doesn't matter how much you're worth. They could sell it for whatever to get their money. They don't care about you. It's
But
how
see, the thing about it is if you file for the original title, which means if you file for the original title, which means you take domain
Oh
over
yeah,
over that. So if you file for the original title, which means that they cannot tax you on that.
yeah.
And a
But
lot of people don't know that.
that's only in certain states. That's not on all the states.
Right. But see, and nowhere in the United States Constitution does
Yeah,
it state that you have that you have to pay taxes on
and
stuff that you own.
exactly. It's your
No,
own
nowhere
property. Like,
does it
why?
state,
I
and
agree
it's
with you
actually
100%.
illegal. It's
Yeah.
actually illegal to charge taxes on income
So why is nobody doing anything about it?
because the United States government swindles around it, and they make your life a living
Hell,
HELL until you comply with them.
it's
And
crazy, man. It's
and
systematic
then when you take
manipulation, systematic
and then when you
control.
take right, and then whenever you take and you sign for your driver's license and your birth certificate, your mother actually signs away your sovereignty because she's the informant. She's not your mother. She's an informant,
No
informing
kidding.
the government that the child is another product that can
No
be
kidding.
sold on market.
I'm
That
farming. That's the name.
exactly. And then when you're looking at the number that's on the back of your birth certificate or your social security number or and stuff like that, that's actually a bond number. That is a bank account number of how much you're actually worth. Okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you're actually when you file for your sovereignty, you actually get your original birth certificate back that's bounded in leather, and you will see all the stamps where your birth certificate or the bond of that account. As a matter of fact, you can actually go and file against this bond because you are the representative of that bond, not them.
So, okay. So you could actually get out of it,
91.
Yeah,
or no?
yeah. So the United States money is not backed by silver and gold anymore. It's backed by flesh and blood.
Yeah. So basically, you're selling. They owe you. They own you.
Yeah.
That's
So in all actuality, you're really not free in the United States. That's just deception.
exactly. That's what I've been telling everybody. We all under systematic control, which some of us don't know it. We think we're happy, but we think we're living the dream. We're not. We are under a systematic control from the elites. And we need to wake up and you see the cops, they're going up and down. What's going on? Something is happening. I mean, it's New Year's. But go on, bro, go on.
But yeah, it's crazy. But see,
But
that's how we're deceived. That's how we're
But no, I want
Um,
to talk more about the way that we like. Is this only for like the original, like the Native American Indian that you could do this, or anybody could do this? Get out of it.
anybody can do this.
Yeah, I don't know that. I thought this was just for them.
Yeah.
And now,
Okay.
what? Okay, what's the consequences? Do you lose? Do you lose your rights? Do you? Is there a different treatment, or what happened then?
Well, I'll have to give you the details on it and everything else. But right now, I have got to take my daughter to work.
Oh,
So,
okay. But I could check it
inshallah, I
online.
will return and I'll send you some information
Sure.
on
Yeah.
private text
Okay. Perfect.
and give you that information. Okay, Aki?
Okay, brother. Thank you for coming and do what
You're welcome.
you have to do, and well, maybe later we'll talk.
Oh yeah, inshallah, Aki. Assalamu
Inshallah.
alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Inshallah.
barakatuh. Love you all for the sake of Allah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Same, likewise, brother. We love you.
Inshallah.
You've been doing an awesome job. You've been doing an awesome job, and I just haven't been on lately, to be honest. I've been occupied with the, with the news and some other stuff that I have to deal with here. But mostly is like what's making me sad the most is the Arabic nation. They're sleeping. They're in La La Land.
They're going to
You know,
awaken. They're going to awaken when it happens. It's
bro,
going to
like
happen.
the puppets, step by step. But like how long can the people of Palestine wait for and wait? But God is with them. Once God is with you, you don't need nobody, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, brother. Salam alaikum. I'm gonna shut it down too because I'm gonna go do some stuff here. Salam.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What is that system? Switch to it. No, I don't want to switch.